Thank you so much, Mustafa, for the keynote address for our panel discussion. I will now like to call up on the stage the moderator for the panel discussion, Mr. Arif Masood Mirza, the Regional Head of Policy for the Manasa region with the ACCA. Arif is looking after the research and insights in the policy portfolio of ACCA for the region, and he's a very familiar face for all of those who know him. I will now like to call our respected panel as well. We're starting off with Ms. Phoebe Yu, the ACCA Council member from China. Phoebe has extensive experience into the finance fraternity. She'll be sharing her thoughts on the topic as well. Give her a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. The next panelist that I have is Mr. Muzamil Aslam, the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Emerging Economics Research. He is a well-known economist, has over 10 years of experience in the fields of economics, equity research, business development, and financial capital markets. Mustafa Haider Saab, we have already heard from him. Mustafa, if you could please join us back on the stage, the Executive Director at Pakistan-China Institute. We can still have a round of applause for him. Thank you. And last but certainly not the least, Mr. Hassan Daud Bhatt, the Project Director with the CPEC Committee from the Government of Pakistan. Mr. Hassan Daud is Deputy Project Director of CPEC, and he's also the Acting Project Director since November 16 on the project. He's looking after all the monitoring and control elements of the progress and the reviews regarding the CPEC. Over to you.
Thank you, Noor. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everybody. Like Mustafa said earlier on, that yesterday we signed an MOU with the Pakistan-China Institute, and the reason we signed that is that for the last several months we've been observing at ACCA there's been a lot of informal sort of conversations going on in different social media groups, and especially ACCA members and finance professionals generally have been trying to absorb all the information that is being released on CPEC. And a lot of young professionals are trying to understand, well, you know, the economics angle of it, yes, the politics of it, the strategic implications, but also as professionals they've been trying to understand, well, what does it mean to our business? You know, what does it mean to the world of finance? So we thought, what better way to keep ACCA members informed of the implications of CPEC, what better way than to sign the MOU with the leading think tank on CPEC in Pakistan. And certainly, you know, the things I've heard today have really added to my understanding of CPEC, Mustafa.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for, you know, giving us a guiding sort of light on, you know, what the future holds. And certainly with ACCA's catchphrase of think ahead. So if you're going to be thinking ahead, whether of your roles within finance and your roles as finance professionals, certainly CPEC needs to be factored into that. You know, it may be that CPEC does not have a material impact on the work or the organization you do, but certainly I think what we've heard from Mustafa is that it's going to have a material impact on our economic quality of lives in the future. So, and especially for today's event and for yesterday's MOU signing, because ACCA has a huge sort of footprint in China and the rest of Asia Pacific, so Phoebe Yu, our council member, has especially flown in, and she's flown in during the Chinese New Year holidays. So I think, you know, to be here with us is especially very kind of Phoebe, and thank you very much. So let me start off by asking Phoebe to share some of her thoughts, because one of the visions of CPEC, Phoebe, is to see the people-to-people contact. And part of the people, if we focus in, are the professionals, the ACCA members working and living in China, and those who are in Pakistan. So, and the one thing we share is professional ethics. So whether you practice your accountancy in China or here, the ACCA member networks, wherever they are in the world, share that professional ethics, the principles. And that can be relied upon to anchor our relationships. So, for example, both Chinese and Pakistan members follow the same principles. So can you share with us, Phoebe, what are the key sort of ethical styles to be found in the Chinese methods of working, other than, you know, the principles that we have? So how can we better prepare to understand each other, and how can we bring ACCA and PCI especially to support this understanding of a shared culture?
Yeah, well, actually, and you know, just like you said, ACC members in China and also ACC in Pakistan, they share same professional ethic. And but you know, ACC has China has a very ancient civilization, and I think Chinese more worship for the mutual understanding with each other. We worship the harmonization for the whole societies. So how we build up this kind of the relationship, we more take serious, like the honest and the constancy with each others. So this is what and for Chinese, we want to set up a long relationship with each other. But set up a long relationship with each other, we also need to spend more time with each other. So we need to have, in order to doing the business, we also want to have because maybe for the Western styles, we just need to have sit in the meeting room and have a more discussion about that. But in Chinese, we actually, in Chinese mainland, we're doing business with, which want to do the business with more familiar peoples. If we don't have any more familiars, we need to have set up the relationship with each other. We need to have more communications and more something outside the boardroom. And this is what a Chinese traditional way to understand each other. Then we can start doing any business. This is a Chinese more traditional way in understanding each other and build up the relationship to believe each other, and also how to understand the people's capacity, characteristics, and personnel. This is what the Chinese do.
Thank you, Phoebe. Muzammil, let me ask you, we heard from the presentation about the ripple effects that the injection, the CPEC injection will have on the economy and for job creation. As an economist, just tell us, you know, what you believe is going to be the macroeconomic repercussions of a large and long-term injection of approximately almost 50 billion and the multiplier effect. So how do you see the future in terms of the macroeconomic benefits coming out of this?
Okay, so far the way things are moving, it's switched on. I'll tell you from my experience at the moment. I also run one of the listed brokerage firm, and we have one conference due in March, from 6th to 8th March in Dubai, and we are taking over more than 15 leading corporates of Pakistan, like Angro, Habib Bank, MCB, Lucky Cement, and so far in this conference, more than 350 global fund managers have enrolled and registered to attend this conference, and they are combined managing more than $10 trillion. So you can imagine how, international investors taking interest in Pakistan and overall in Pakistan businesses. These companies we are taking to Dubai, they are already under the massive expansions, and as we saw in the presentation as well, almost all cement companies, he'll highlighted a couple of companies, but let me tell you, because I work in stock exchange, we get all notices from the company. Almost all cement companies, they are expanding. Almost all steel companies which are listed, they are expanding. Banks, they are going aggressive. Now the private sector lending, which was very slow in the last few years, has gone up just in the last 6 months. It gone up to 350 billion rupees. Companies, initially they wanted to buy some brownfield investments. For example, if there is any business available, so they can buy from that business. But now at the moment, nobody is selling their business. So unfortunately, if somebody has to come, they have to go for the greenfield investments. And government has been so far very accommodative, and government is giving huge incentives to the investors and overall into the greenfield investments, which is why we are seeing a boom in the energy sector, overall boom in the cement sector. So economy by large is getting benefit from all these kind of confidence. I would say the feel-good factor is back to Pakistan, which we last saw in 2005-06, and after that there was hardly any confidence left in the country, and people even residing here, they were sending their capital abroad. But in the last couple of years, what we are witnessing, and in fact the last quarter was very amazing, people are sending their money back to Pakistan, and they are looking for the investment opportunities and the avenues. So confidence is back, thankfully.
So the 7,000 sort of job creation, is that a conservative figure, do you see? And what sort of time scales are you looking at in terms of the macroeconomic vision on this, in terms of job creation? Because I think that's really important for the demographic dividend that was talked about.
Okay, let me tell you one thing. For the past few years, what we have been witnessing is there was a huge brain drain from Pakistan as well. People, they went abroad to, especially to the Middle Eastern region, Far East region, and to the West as well. So what we have been noticing in the past 1 year, people are coming back, and they are finding a good and better job opportunities here. So this shows the growth cycle is improving, and there is a lot more opportunities, not just the job opportunities. Actually, now the corporates here, they are matching the price what they are getting abroad. Historically, what we have witnessed is if somebody on the same kind of job working in Pakistan, and if he's working at Dubai, he gets 5 times more what he's supposed to get in Pakistan. But now corporates, given the demand, and they are actually attracting the human capital, there has been a lot of price increase for the overall salaries and packages. So what I can see in the next couple of years, in fact Wall Street Journal, they have mentioned yesterday as well, Pakistan is fastly emerging as a middle class, generating the middle class is coming up very strongly. So I can see a huge employment growth as well as a standard of living growth. And once that happens, we will see a very good combination of domestic demand as well as for the export driven stuff as well. So we can see a very robust economy in the days to follow. And the other important thing is, thankfully now we have much more job opportunities in the shape of CPEC. So people who are living in Middle East, and already the Middle East region is under the crisis, so they are finding a reason to come back home, and they are going to find their jobs immediately.
I just want to bring Mustafa into this. Mustafa, a lot of the Pakistan regulators, in terms of the Securities Exchange Commission, the FBR, they've attempted to make their processes a lot easier for companies. So one window operations, allowing speedy incorporation, I heard yesterday that 2016 has been a record year for companies incorporation in Pakistan. So what would be your sort of advice with the potential of greater Chinese investment? What can institutions like regulators, professional accounting bodies, universities, what can they do to ensure that there's a smooth, if you like, business collaboration? And so what can regulators and universities and professional bodies do to ensure the smooth collaborative atmosphere between the host nation as well as the investment coming in from China?
Arif, that's a very good question because I think our regulators and other institutions are originally tailored for a status quo, run-of-the-mill, if you will, investment or corporate ambience. But with the emergence of CPEC, it is an unprecedented situation. There's an influx of companies coming in, influx of investment coming in, influx of interest from regional countries, predominantly from Chinese companies, and as Muzammil said, from Pakistani companies. So these very important organizations like SCCP and other regulators, even like NEPRA and ACCA and stakeholders in Pakistan's economy need to readapt to this new reality of CPEC and sort of tailor their institutions towards matching the pace of the interest that we are receiving from international countries and particularly China. And I think we need to play catch up in this regard because we do see sort of an interest and investment coming, but some organizations not being able to cater to them at the pace that they should. And that sometimes leads to some frustration for investors because their interest is so high and that the buzz is so much in the air for China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and their projects. Our organizations should have, and a lot of the, I think Punjab is doing a good job in this regard. They've created CPEC cells, you know, so cells specifically to cater to CPEC-oriented investment. And I think there also needs to be a better coordination mechanism between regulators and bodies which are dealing with CPEC. And I think the Pakistan-China Institute is trying to play that role in order to harmonize all stakeholders in one platform, in order to work cohesively, to sort of work in synergy to cater to the challenges and opportunities presented by CPEC. And a lot of the times that we see is that the regulators have inconsistent policies, unfortunately, or policies which are not in synergy and at the pace of the policy level coordination going on projects like CPEC, which leads to sometimes investors going to court, as was seen unfortunately in the Qaeda Solar Power Park project, when the tariff which was agreed was midway before the financial close was reached, it was changed. And obviously, which led to a huge revisiting of the calculation of returns and profits for the mega investment that the Chinese company was bringing. So these examples are something which we should learn from, and I think these are inevitable such issues to happen because Pakistan has not been privy to such a mega project in the past. So these are bound to happen, but the important thing, Arif, I think, is to learn from such issues, learn and adapt and cater to the challenges.
So we could effectively benefit, you know, the accounting profession could benefit in the sense that the speed at which the regulators now begin to smooth out some of their barriers to incorporation, the speed at which they react to tax claims, etc. We could benefit because they really need to ensure that the Chinese investment coming in is given that sort of opportunity, you know, to smoothly deliver. Let me bring in Mr. Hassan Daud from the Planning Commission, and just first of all, so, you know, just share with us a message from the organization that you belong to. What is your message? Because I know you particularly wanted to put it in the context of the One Belt, One Road initiative. So please just start off by giving us your message from the Planning Commission on the work that you're doing and how you're looking at CPEC in the context of One Belt, One Road.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the organization and the organizers for this event, because such event provide us the opportunity to reach out and, as Mustafa Saab said, to highlight the update on the projects that we are working on, give you the exact status and where we are as we speak, and also talk about some of the issues that are highlighted time and again. We in the Planning Commission are working specifically for coordination and a limited monitoring of all the progress that is made. We coordinate activities with the Chinese side, that being NDRC, their Reform Commission, and also within Pakistan, all the line ministries for the progress in their respective field of work. Like we coordinate with the Ministry of Water Power for all the energy projects, we coordinate with NHA and Ministry of Communication for all the infrastructure projects. As you might know that we have joint working groups. There are 4 joint working groups who are working on each areas as was highlighted by Mustafa Saab of 1+4 dimensions. We have one for planning, we have one for infrastructure, then we have one for energy, and then we have one for Gawad. So each one is being sort of coordinated by us, and then the line ministries and the respective conveyor have their own role assigned to them. I'm also glad in a way that we also have amongst the audience Sohail Safdar Saab, who's worked on the long-term plan for the CPEC, and who else could answer some of the pertinent questions that could arise. So I would seek your help here, sir. Thank you, sir, so much.
So I'm going to ask 1 or 2 more questions, and then what I'd like the audience to do is just prepare to ask your own questions. And if you just put your hand up, my colleague Shahid will bring the mic around for you. So one of the questions, Phoebe and I suppose the rest of the panel, so just dive in with your own comments on this, is that last year we saw China sign the Paris agreements committing to climate change monitoring and meeting targets. Pakistan also signed the Paris Agreement as well. Fortunately, in Pakistan for the last sort of 2 decades almost, ACCA has been working with WWF to sort of ensure that companies are adopting a sustainable approach to conducting their businesses. Yesterday, Phoebe, you told me that you sit on another body that protects the mangrove seashores where in the South China Seas.
Yes.
So one of the criticisms often leveled is that a large-scale investment, could damage the society, could damage the environment. But both countries are committed, through the Paris Agreement, that they're going to manage these things. So would you like to share with us what type of tone is being set, within China, where you work on the sort of sustainability agenda, and how can ACCA and PCI on this, play a greater role in sort of mitigating any risk and factoring these things in through greater transparency and disclosure?
Okay, thanks for the question. And I think it's due to the over 30 years fast development in China, and we must think about the balance of the environment protection and the economic development. And so in China, we have, as I know, is the Chinese government already set up for carbon emission issues, already set up some exchange markets for the carbon emission right for the exchange. And so, as I know, is one is in northern part of China, and another one is in the southern part of China, which I based in Shenzhen. So this is what we can see is that the Chinese government was what they want to do what they want to do is for the contribution for the environment protection, and from my perspective is what I worked recently is work for the energy group in south part of China, and I just arrived just work for that company, but I know is that 60% of the generated electricity is used by the new energy. That's no coal. Is not a coal. Is a coal, not carbon coal. It's by the waste solid, by solar system, and by wind, and also by hydro, and also by the LNG gas. So this what we say, what we can say is that not only the government but also the Chinese company also have this kind of idea to protect the environment. So for the one by one road strategic policy from Chinese government. So what Chinese and also Chinese government, also Chinese company want to do is that during the development for the CPEC, and we will get the more experience in the fast development in China. We will get more high technique skills come over to CPEC for the infrastructures projects, and also we also balance. We're also going to balance the cost and also the what's the output for the environment. And so I think as a professional accountants, we have a lot of things to do during the economic development and also the environment protection, because we have a more high-level skills for the cost analysis. We also have used our skill in the budgeting for our budgeting and the plan for the company. We can balance the cost for the environment protection and what we output from the economy. So this is what's the expertise that the professional accountant can contribute to the whole society. So this is what I think.
Mustafa,
if I can weigh in on that. I think, as Phoebe also said, I think it's important to do a cost-benefit analysis, because there is definitely an opportunity cost of industrialization and of rapid development and of mass transit systems, for example. And there will always be the opportunity cost, but it is how we balance the progress in industrialization that every country needs without overreaching and overstepping the parameters that should be set in an informed way with climate change experts, with environmental experts, and through institutionalized mechanisms. I think that is very important, and I think as you can see in China, and I think China is now moving towards green energy and renewable energy and a green way of working and development. And if you go to Beijing in the winter, there's so much smog from the top floors of the hotels, you can't see anything, and that's because of the coal power plants that are there. So, and when you talk about coal power projects, they are a part of every country's energy mix. So when some people talk about completely getting rid of coal power projects, every country has an energy mix which has some solar, some wind, some thermal, some coal, and so far now we also have in Pakistan in some areas waste to energy, biomass and biogas. So we have to have an energy mix, and we also have to have more informed decision making in terms of the projects that we choose and how they will impact the environment. And I think that right now has a substantial room for improvement, and organizations like these referenced by Phoebe can play a role in advising the government and the companies to work within certain parameters. So that needs to be done, but we always have to remember that there will be a certain opportunity cost. when you have industries, when you have projects. That will happen.
I think the end of this discussion is going to integrate very well with our next panel discussion as well, which is on sustainability reporting. So I know I'm running out of time, so let me open up the panel to questions. I know there was a question here from Sajid Sir from PTC ELSA. So would you like to introduce yourself and ask your question?
Thank you. I'm Sajid Ahmed from Pakistan Telecommunication Company Limited. First of all, I'm thankful Mr. Mustafa Haider for the clarification or the misconception that CPEC, although it's a big game changer, but it's not going to do everything. This genie is working for the Pakistan, but we have to work on our end to have the full benefit. But the second misconception that is we are hearing on news or on TV, although it's not a political question, it's just a clarification, that there are few provinces that are saying that we are not going to get the full benefit from this CPEC. And so they want to have a full right. There's one part. And secondly, what is the state of preparation of different provinces to cope with the demand of the CPEC in their areas?
State of, sorry?
Preparation to accept this change. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Firstly, when you talk about benefit you said all stakeholders? I think this was a very monumental success for the Federation for Pakistan, which you might have seen yourself this time in Beijing, in the 6th JCC, which happened. All the provinces were represented in the Joint Coordination Committee meeting. And from Gilgit-Baltistan to KP, there have been projects, and KT Bandar in Sindh, which have been included in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So the benefits are going to be from all the 5 and 4 provinces of Pakistan and all the nooks and corners of Pakistan. And when you talk about benefits, as of now, you can see that there are a lot of people employed in Pakistan. If you look at Huawei, which is playing a very important role in our telecom industry, in our IT industry, a lot of the employees are Pakistani employees. When you look at, so that there's job creation happening as we speak. When you talk about coal power projects in Thar, the companies have employed a lot of local Thar residents. When you talk about Gwadar, the fisheries industry is being revived for the first time, where you can get the best seafood in the world, but we didn't have any processing units. We were not exporting it. It was going waste. So that is being done. So the benefit of CPEC is being derived, and I think it is up to us to better capitalize on the opportunities, because this is just the start. The project is till 2030, and it is how we Pakistanis position ourselves to capitalize on the opportunity. The investment, the equity which is creating the impact is going to continue coming. And what was your second question?
Second was, there are some misconceptions going on in the process that they are not getting the full right.
And what is their preparatory stage, whether they are prepared, whether they, as you have given the example of Punjab of forming some one window operation for the companies, and all the other provinces are having the same facilities for the investors that are going to come in Pakistan?
The difference of opinion which was voiced earlier from different provinces was addressed, I think, and resolved after the 6th JCC which happened in Beijing. And you can see that the Chief Minister of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa also announced that they're very satisfied with the progress and the projects which have been approved in the western route, and the special economic zones which has also been approved in Rashakai in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So those grievances which were there have been addressed, and just remember that when there's something good, when there's something attractive, everyone wants a piece of the pie. So it just shows the confidence in the project when stakeholders or provinces are demanding more, because they know that they can benefit from it, and now that benefit is being given to them. We are a federation, we have different parties, so I think every party and provinces, will negotiate better for their interests. And I think those interests have been met. And you want to say something now?
I would just highlight the, in terms of, because we monitor the activities that are, that all provinces are doing in terms of CPEC. So I'm glad to say that even the smaller provinces like GB have established their own CPEC secretariat. Not only Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has an effective and efficient working CPEC secretariat now in place. Balochistan has the same. And as Mustafa Saab said, the 6th JCC has really brought in consensus within all the provinces. They know, and before going, and I'll just take a minute for giving you the update on the projects. Before going for the 6th JCC, which was held on 29th of December in Beijing, we asked all the provinces to come up with their proposals with respect to 2 projects each to be included in CPEC, and also we asked them to come up with their proposal in terms of the special economic zones. So they prepared, they did their own small feasibility and then came up with their proposal, and we took those proposals to Chinese counterparts. Those were accepted, and now we have new projects included within CPEC. As we speak, the Chinese team is preparing on the special economic zone, is preparing to come to Pakistan and give us guidance and feedback on the zones that we have highlighted and indicated and proposed. So in next about 6 months, there are a lot of activities happening in Pakistan in terms of new projects, new economic zones, because as you would realize that this project was conceived in a way that we wanted to work on the energy scarcity, and now inshallah by 2018 there are about 12 projects which are on energy, and by 2018, end of 2018, inshallah 5,000 megawatt of energy would be in the circuit. So our energy scarcity would be over. The new projects would be there by inshallah 2018. The western route and the eastern route would be completed. So our north-south connectivity would be in place by March this year. Our long-term plan, which we are working day and night along with Safdar Saab, would be approved, and then we would move into the next phase of CPEC. So some of the challenges and some of the opportunities were highlighted by Mustafa Saab in his small brief, and I would also highlight one opportunity and one benefit of CPEC is that it has brought in true national consensus within Pakistan in terms of projects that are coming.
Great, thank you. Are there any more questions out there? I'll take one question there, sir, and then I'll come to you as well, Muzammil.
My name is Salman Hashmi, and I'm a forensic accountant and representing a newspaper in Islamabad with the name of Forensic Eye. I've got a question to the panel. Is this that what CPEC is doing very good, China is doing very good. We have got enough financial accountants in Pakistan, and what will be the next in the world? Because we don't need any accountants, we need people with the skills who will do the job. Like the China is doing the job and they helping Pakistan to create something. And with all this financial planning and all this thing, and I travel around the world, I come to a point that this is no use to the new nation, our youth. With the financial planning, they can calculate, they can do blah, 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 they can do CP ratios, they can do a lot of things. But the ground reality is that China is helping us. They're developing the CPEC.
What's your question, sir?
My question is this, that what ACCA is thinking, what the benefit they will give to the society of Pakistan, to the nation. Are we going in the right direction or wrong?
Can I?
So I think we'll get Mustafa and we'll get Phoebe to also answer, because China's had decades now of economic growth. China is also growing the number of financial accountants they need for their economic growth. So I think that would also answer some of your questions on demand supply. Phoebe, would you like to answer the demand-supply question first? Do we have enough accountants? Do you have enough accountants in China?
Yeah. Thanks for your question. I would like to say is that due to, as we already developed for over 30 years, we're still short of tenants, especially for the accountants. So because, you know, the company in China, they now, before they are very small, now they become the larger size. And they start to open the subsidiary overseas and also domestically. But you know, for the accountants, it's very key person to the company. But maybe some basic works we can take by the financial service center or by the automatic accounting entry. But you know, for the strategic accountant, for the financial analysis, and this is very key for the company. And actually, I just mentioned about the budget planning is also should done by the accountant, and the accountant should provide a lot of information for the decision-making levels. So I don't see any chance that accountant will be useless. It's very important for the economic development. And also, for example, for China, I just said, if they want to go overseas, they need to be localized. They also need local accountant to provide service to the company, especially for the taxation and also just I mentioned for the analysis and the planning. They are very valuable valuable tenants that the company need.
So I'm going to go around again and just ask for your closing comments and also for people to address any matters on that last question as well. Muzammil, would you like to sort of address any of issues that we've raised, but also on the point that you know, again, that's about demand supply, which is again economics, you know, demand supply, and also when we talked about economic zones, free zones, and tax holidays, perhaps from an economist's eyes, would you like to share with us, you know, is that beneficial to the economy that we give these tax breaks and create these enterprise zones? So just very quickly, if you could wrap up as well, and then I'll move on to Mustafa to also, and Hassan Saab as well.
Thank you. I would like to, since I'm running the company as well, the job of accountants or, you know, the graduates from ACCA is getting, you know, very broad-based. To tell you now, SCCP, they are coming up with new ordinances. There is a lot of risk and compliance jobs. So now, take my example, I have a very small company. I need accountants everywhere in internal auditing department, external auditing, risk and compliance, overall regulatory compliance. Now ACCA graduates, they are playing a very big role in, you know, the regulatory compliance. The Security Exchange Commission and PSX, they have a lot of compliance requirements as well. So their requirements and the scope of the job is getting wider and wider as against the traditional role usually ACCA people played in the past. Coming back onto the wrapping point, I would like to say it's not just CPEC. The impact of CPEC is filtering into the private sector as well. It's just very recent, in the past 4 or 5 months, big Chinese companies, they are buying businesses in Pakistan. For example, Shanghai Stock Exchange, they just bought 40% shares of PSX. Shanghai Electric. PSX, Pakistan Stock Exchange. Pakistan Stock Exchange. And their immediate plan is, whatever the Chinese companies, they're going to come on CPEC, they're going to get listed on Pakistan Stock Exchange. So I would like to answer your question through this way. Whatever the companies, they are going to be listed in the Pakistan Stock Exchange, the investors and the saving of me and yours, we can channel into these companies. And if these companies are going to make money, we can be indirectly the beneficiary of it. Similarly, as Mustafa Saab mentioned, Shanghai Electric, they bought Karachi Electric, and they have committed more than $1 billion worth of investments in the electricity generation, and they are not the part of CPEC, by the way. This is over and above what we are going to get from CPEC. So it's like it's a public-private partnership on the one hand, and it's just private and private and private. And the general public, if they are going to benefit if they have savings, they can channel into all these projects. And if the general public, they want to be the part of that, all this happening, they can be employed as well. So overall, I can see a very bright and prosperous Pakistan.
Great. Thank you so much for that positive note. Mustafa, your closing comments.
Yeah.
And remember, you have an audience largely made up of professional accountants. And
Absolutely. And also the question that the gentleman asked, ACCA will have a huge role in One Belt, One Road and China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. As Phoebe and Muzammil Saab said, there are many opportunities in companies, in the joint ventures, in the projects which are about to be initiated, in which accountants are needed. So I think everyone needs to go towards the opportunities. You need to seize the opportunities rather than waiting for opportunities to come to you. See who are the companies which are working right now in China-Pakistan Economic Corridor projects. There are a lot of Pakistani companies. Learn Chinese. I think that's very important. Pak China Institute is also teaching Chinese to students. Root School System and Pak China Institute started Chinese a long time ago as well. Learn Chinese, meet Chinese people, go to Beijing, go to Shanghai, come to us, we'll get you the visa and meet people. And going to impact you, you can either be riding the wave or either you can be waiting to ask and question how it will come to you. I would suggest go for it, go for the kill. It's happening right now as we speak. Meet the stakeholders who are in CPEC, come to conferences like this, network, and you'll be part of CPEC. So CPEC will benefit ACCA and other all local companies in Pakistan. As Muzammil Saab said, already he can feel it. He can feel the impact. And in the private sector, Shanghai Stock Exchange getting into Pakistan Stock Exchange and Shanghai Electric buying our first distribution company is first big mega investment of China in our private sector and private sector to private sector. So now you're going to see private sector to private sector deals happening as ancillary and ripple effects of CPEC. And this is, I think, where the real opportunity lies, is in the private sector to private sector. The special economic zones, it's all Pakistani and Chinese companies which are going to develop them. So you can really weigh in on this and capitalize on this.
Great. Thank you so much, Hassan, for that. Hassan Saab, for your closing comments.
I've written down 3 points, which I'll give my closing remarks if you
Please.
First of all, sir, we all must realize now that OBOR and CPEC are realities, and we must be ready, enhance our capacities, each one of us, including the business fraternity, to reap the true benefits out of both these mega projects. In terms of clearing out some of the doubts, I would also highlight here that we have a dedicated team working on our website. Please do visit our website. We give daily updates on the projects, each one of them, including the one on people-to-people contact, on the one about the future of CPEC. So do visit that website so that you can get hands-on information on CPEC and what we are doing, each one of the ministry that is working for the government. And lastly, sir, besides the project on energy and rest of the portfolios that have been highlighted, we are aware that we have to work on the capacity of the next generation, as was highlighted for you. We're working on vocational institute, we're working on universities, we're working on next week we have a conference within Planning Commission to establish a consortium with Chinese think tanks and the top 5 universities and the top 5 universities from Pakistan. So we're working on that, sir, and inshallah the dream would be realized soon than later.
Thank you so much.